So we're on a bit of a mission today. Before we get into the work, decided that we are going to be putting a 2-post ramp in the unit just to sort of maximise the working space we've got. So we're going to be installing the ramp somewhere here in the middle, which then allows us to lift Kevin's car up and work on that better. We can cover the pit, so it's easier to work on a car on a ramp than it is on the pit. And also that then allows me to be able to lift this car up and roll the Ferrari or whatever car we're working on here underneath that one, which then gives us this front section of the garage available to work on. It gives us a section of the pit that we can get on with other builds or other jobs in between doing what we're doing here. Now we've got the ramp out there. We've had this in storage for quite some time now, possibly 2 years, and just never got around to fitting it. We've got the stacker truck out. So what we're going to be doing first off is we need to move these cars out the unit. So we're going to push the Ferrari out into the yard, then we're going to push Kevin's car out into the yard, and then we can start to get these pillars up, get them bolted to the floor. We've got all our fixing bolts here ready to go. We've got some plugs and some sockets, some SDS drills and all sorts of stuff. So let's get these cars out, let's throw this ramp up, and then we can get back on with the builds.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Today we are back on with the Opel Manta restoration project. We've not worked on this car for quite a while now because we've been busy cracking on with this one. We are waiting for parts on this now, so we can't really do much, so we're turning our attention back to Kev's Manta. You'll notice there now we do have a ramp in the unit. We've got the car up on the ramp, makes life far easier to access stuff. It is a ramp over a pit, which might seem quite odd, but it is what it is. We do have a full set of boards for this pit, so we're going to cover the pit up just underneath the car, so we've got somewhere solid to stand on. So today we're going to be starting with all these rear axle bolts. So when we put the axle on, we didn't actually tighten everything up, it was just sort of a loose fit. So as you can see here, all these bolts are still loose, so we're going to be torquing all these up to spec as per the manual. Again, over here, all these bolts and these bolts, pretty much everything on this back end all needs torquing up. Once we've done that, we're going to be looking at cutting this brake pipe to size. That brake pipe needs to go into this flexi hose here, so we do need to do a flared end on the copper pipe with our flaring tool. So we're going to look at doing that. We also need to make some sort of a bracket for this axle to hold the brake pipe in position. So we're looking at possibly making some sort of a bracket off this bolt that comes out that can then retain this with a clip. On the standard axles there is usually one here, but obviously this has got a steel torque tube on, so this isn't standard to this car, so it's something we're going to have to make to suit basically. We also still need to sleeve all our brake pipes and fuel lines where they enter through the chassis there, so we're going to be putting some sort of either rubber hose right through or put some grommets in there just to stop these chattering and wearing away. So we are in the process of trying to make a temporary exhaust for this car as well, basically just to get it through its MOT, so the car is roadworthy, and then at that point it is going up to exhaust works for a full custom stainless exhaust. So basically we just need something that fits and works just to get the car through its MOT, and then I think it's about a 10-mile drive from here to exhaust works, just basically for that purpose. So it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. So let's crack on, let's get some work done. Let's start with these rear axle bolts and move along, see how I get up to. Right, so before we start talking all the axle bolts, we've actually just realised that we have not yet fitted our panhard rod and the rear anti-roll bar. So we've got everything out here and all the tools we need to install these bits. So this is our rear anti-roll bar and this is our rear panhard rod. We've got the poly bushes to go on here as well. We've got the brackets which have been zinc plated and all the nuts and bolts we need to install this. So basically the rear anti-roll bar just sits on these brackets there and there, sort of swoops around the diff, and then we've also got the fixing points up here and up here for the rear anti-roll bar, and then the rear panhard rod goes from this bracket there to this stud there. So we'll get those on and then we can literally torque every bolt on this back end then, because it's pointless torquing all this up and then having to fit the rear anti-roll bar and the panhard rod, because we've still got to torque them up anyway. So let's get those on and then we can just torque all the nuts and bolts in one go. It's over. Oh yeah, just go there. I don't know where the socket really. Oh, just crack on. So I got it. What is going on? Is that a 14mm you give me though? No, don't think so. Oh God, that is so hard. It's not, is it really? It is. It's not. It is. Can't get any torque on it. Are you sure that's a 13? Sure, dodgy rusty nuts that have got nothing left on them. Okay, there, your turn. Don't fit right, does it? Dodgy nuts, aren't they? Been that rusty and acid and plated, I think they just took a mill off them or something. Last nip with a spanner. Right, so the trouble you get with fitting the panhard rod on the mantas is, obviously because the car is up on the ramp now, the axle's dropped, so it actually pulls the hole away from centre. So this is quite a tricky part now, trying to get this on. We do struggle with these quite often, to be honest. So what we have to do here now is lower the car down on the ramp. We're going to lower it onto an axle stand there, which as we lower the car down, then it should shove the axle up and hopefully centre that hole so we can get the panhard rod on its mount. I think we might have to put 2 stands under it. Okay. Ready? Yeah. That's exactly what I want. Thank you. That's better. I hate this grease. It's horrible, isn't it? So we just realised that the manual we need is actually inside the car, which we didn't realise before we lifted it up. So it's going to drop the car down so I can get the manual, and then we've got all the torque settings in there that we need. Right, the only ones we need to do, don't really need to do, them ones, because they're just tight.
30 mils, aren't they?
Them are just tight. That's done. Right, so this is our bracket that we've started to mock up for the brake pipe. I had to split it and fold it there, so now we're just going to put a little bit of weld in these gaps just to make that bracket more solid. Pipe should fit in there like so, and then we can get a C-clip which fits in there and retains the pipe. Right, so we've got our bits of weld in these corners, just where we slit the bracket to fold it. So this just strengthens it back up. So we're going to grind these bits of weld down now, try it on the car, see if it fits. Bracket, please.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah. So it's going to need spacing off that.
It's going to need that corner taken out, I think. Because otherwise it's going to end up going like that.
Okay.
You might get in, like you say, if you get a bit of a spacer, but I'll round out a little bit of that edge.
Okay.
Just try this on, and what we need to do is just round a little bit of this edge off, just so it fits around the curvature of the torque tube. Took a little bit out of the bracket, rounded that off a little bit. We're also just going to put a spacer behind it, just to pull it away from the torque tube a little bit. Might not be too bad there, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it's got two sides to it. Try your piping. Is that way in it?
A little bit too long that.
What, the bracket?
Yeah, pipe's too short.
No!
So we have to cut that off and weld it back about here.
That's really annoying.
Oh, that's why I trial fit stuff, unfortunately. Doesn't always work first time, does it?
You sure that's not long enough?
Well, it's not long enough, is it? Because you're not going to get clipping.
Oh yeah.
That's not going to get clipping there.
So how much do we need to take off?
Well, you need a bit of flex, don't you? No,
Yeah.
So you want to be bringing it back. I'd say about halfway up that bracket.
I did measure it with a piece of masking tape.
Well, if you'd used cable tie, it'd have fitted, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh well.
There you go. Try again.
You have to do everything twice in a matter anyway.
Right, so this bracket is actually too long. Now we've trial fitted it. This is what trial fits are for. Doesn't always work first time around, so we need to shorten this distance. We need to shorten the distance between here, basically. So I'm going to cut this section of the bracket off, move it down here, re-weld it, because at the moment the pipe just won't reach between the two brackets. Right, so there we have our reworked bracket, which we've shortened down a little bit, reprofiled, made it nice, put a bit of paint on it. Let's try it up on the car again and see if the pipe will now actually fit. What a catch that was. Go in there, and that fits in there now. Lovely jubbly, perfect that. Right, so these are our retaining clips for the pipe. Bang these on.
You might want something to knock that in with.
Right, so we've got our hand flaring tool out, so now we're just going to cut this pipe to size. We've put a mark on it. Kevin's got his pipe cutter. We've got one shot at this, so we've got to get this right because we've had to cut this to a perfect particular size. So if we mess this up, we haven't really got any room for error because we don't have any more pipe where we can pull any slack from. So if this goes wrong, basically we're going to be running a whole new pipe from the front of the car to the back of the car, and we definitely don't want that to happen. So fingers crossed this works first time.
Right then.
Deburr it.
Deburr it.
They're not particularly very good, these hand flaring tools. I do prefer to use the proper flaring tool in the vise, but obviously because the pipe's already on the car, there's not a lot we can do about it. We don't really want to be pulling the whole pipe out again.
Really not much to do
Right,
this.
stop. A bit more. How far did you go before?
All the way.
Just have to leave a little bit of a gap to keep checking it.
Right, I'll check that one. It's slightly frustrating, this. What's that one? 17. I'll be highly surprised if that actually seals.
What's it?
I think that'll do.
It's another P-clip somewhere, doesn't it now?
Bit of a pain, but yes, come like that. And then that one's come a bit like that. With a bit of a bend on it upwards. That'll be alright, that.
So the next thing we're going to start to look at is this fuel pump. Sorry for the noise in the background, guys. We do have a motorcycle shop just across the way from us, and he's tuning a carburettor or something at the moment, so it is quite noisy. So we've got some new P-clips for this. If you remember back on one of the previous episodes, we just cable tied this up temporarily just to keep it from doing that. We've now got the correct P-clips, one for the fuel filter and another one up here for this little filter as well, this little pre-filter. So we're going to fit them now. Hopefully we've got the right size P-clip so we can get this all buttoned off and finished off as well. Let's lower it down slightly.
No, I'd like to struggle.
You're not giving up on that bit as well?
I am.
You're not?
I am. This is really
You're
annoying.
not passing this bit on to me. Let's lower it down slightly.
No, I'd like to struggle.
You're not giving up on that bit as well?
I am.
You're not?
I am. This is really
You're
annoying.
not passing this bit on to me.
We're giving up.
You dropped everything. It all went down the pit and everything.
Oh!
There's your bolt.
Right. There we go.
Right, so that is our panhard rod fitted, anti-roll bar fitted. We've also just changed the spring rubber mounts at the top back to the originals because the ones that we did put on there were some poly bush type ones, but the springs just didn't seem to fit nicely to those bushes, so we decided to go and put the originals back on there because they're a much nicer fit. So we've also done that. We've just been around and torqued up all these bolts to the correct settings, so we know all that back axle now is all torqued up, bushed up, all nice and tidy. We've got our bracket made and fitted for the brake pipe, and we've got obviously the end flared on our copper pipe. That's all tightened up as well. We do need to put a little fitting on there yet, which Kevin's got knocking about somewhere. The ones we actually got supplied with the brake pipe was just naff, absolute cheap rubbish. It just don't fit very nice at all. So we're going to reuse one of the originals, which actually fit up there a lot nicer. So that's one of the original ones we've got. It's going back on there, just a much nicer fit. Right, so with that all now done, fuel pump brackets and everything all installed, lovely jubbly, nice and tidy. We're now going to move on to the front shockers. It's something we've been meaning to do for a while, and for some reason we keep forgetting to do it. So we're going to get these front shockers in now, lower the car down a bit just to make it a little bit easier to get to.
Yummy. Pop the socket. Yummy. Put the dust in. Local bit of belly. Okay. Go through that. Just centering them holes.
Got the Allen key hole on the top of them.
Yeah, they are. You could measure them if you wanted to. It's alright.
Right, so just having a quick recap around the top of this car, because it has been quite a while since we updated on this. If you are just joining this project for the first time, this is a C20XE engine that we've dropped in here. We've done this conversion ourselves. It is all mounted, wired in, plumbed in, and we have had it running. There's quite a few tricky bits on it. There was quite little bits and bobs that just was really tight, like down here with these brake fittings and stuff that we've had to modify certain things to make it fit, but we got there in the end. It now fits nice and snug. We've got the aluminium radiator in. We've got the Polo heater box because the original heater box was actually contacting the Dizzy, so there is still wiring and everything to be done and tidied up around here, so take no notice of this sort of stuff. We're just trial fitting stuff at this point just to make sure stuff works. So we've plugged the heater motor in to check that works, which it does. Now we know it works, we can sort of shrink wrap all this, get it all nice and tidied up. There's a couple of other little bits and bobs that want tidying, some bits, stuff like this want finishing off, but it is in and it does run. It will drive, obviously, once we've got the prop shaft on. Well, it won't stop because there's no brakes. We do need to run a brake pipe from the front of the master cylinder here, or from the servo even, out and around the back of the engine, and then through that hole there. And it would have been far easier to do that while the engine was out, but we was in a predicament because we were struggling with this, wasn't we? So we had to have the engine in to work out the position of this to make sure that this cleared the inlet manifold. So with all that going on, we just thought, let's get it in, let's get it bolted in. There was a certain procedure that this, in a certain way, this had to go in, which is why we didn't do that in the first place. It would have been far easier, but it is what it is. I'm sure we'll manage with that. So there's that to do, which is the pipe for the passenger side front brake. This engine was fully rebuilt before we installed it as well. It went off to Quasar Engineering over in Stockport. They did the short motor build. The head was fully reconditioned as well, and then we basically just put it all back together once it returned from the engine shop, put the head on, tightened all the head bolts up and sort of built it from the block upwards. We've also done a multi-V conversion on there as well, because they are prone for flicking the alternator belts off, so we've done that, so we shouldn't have that issue. We've got the Ermshire power cap there on the top as well. we have got a bit of an induction kit, which is like a basically silicone hose from here, and then a bit of an aluminium tube, and then it all moves into this side with like a K&N type filter, which sits nicely in this corner as well. So there is that still to fit, but there's just little bits want tidying up before that. Like this all wants a bit of a clean, a bit of a paint, and then we can get all this fastened up. So we did get it all sound deadened inside as well. That's all done and dusted. We still need to do the roof up in there, but we decided we're going to leave that for now because there is a couple of little dents in this roof skin that we installed that Tom needs to work his magic on, so he wants a little bit of hammer and dollying, so there's no point us putting the sound deadening up in there until he's knocked them dents out, because it'll just get bashed to death with the hammer and the dolly. We did trial fit the dash. We do have a rev counter. All the gauges work apart from the fuel tank level, so that is something we need to look at and work out why it's not registering the fuel, what is in the tank. That's something we will be coming to in the next episode as well. We was originally as well, was going to use these BMW deep dish multi-sport rims that are on the back of here, these BBS, but we've actually decided now we've got these Hartgers as well, and we actually think that them are going to suit the car far better. So let us know what you think in the comments, guys. Which wheels would you go for, the Hartgers or the BBS? Me and Kevin are both swaying towards the Hartgers at this point. The BBS are a fatter dish, deeper dish, but don't know, there's just something about them Hartgers that I think they suit this particular car better than the BBS. So let us know what you think in the comments, which wheels, them or them. Fuel tank is also in. We did paint that and recondition it. We checked it all inside to make sure it wasn't rusty. We did go through a couple of tanks, which we found was completely knackered inside. So we did find a really good tank, cleaned all that up, painted it, installed that. It's now got fueling, holds its fuel. We've ran the engine on the tank, so we know all that is good. Parcel shelf is also wrapped, so you'll notice there is some massive holes in there, so I'll leave that to your imagination as to what is going to be going and filling them holes. It's going to be having quite a good system put in this car as well. Kit's on, we've got the brackets for the side skirts on, we've mocked up the front wings, the front bumper, the bonnet. We know all that fits, and all the clearance that we need is there to clear the power cap and everything. So we are getting somewhere near now, guys, to getting this car almost ready for paint. Once we've got the brakes dealt with and these couple of little bits and bobs that I've just mentioned, it shouldn't be too long before this car hopefully is ready for going to the paint shop. So I think we're going to leave this one there. That's going to be it for this one. Not a massive update, but we are pressed for time today. We've only had a few hours messing about, so yeah, we're going to leave this one there. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Drop us some comments, let us know what you think. As always, please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you all on the next video.